They certainly are rolling away, 170 kilometres they're facing up to now as we go to a new finish in the Tour, Paul, the Plateau de Bailly.
But one or two of the riders do know this climb because it's been used twice in the past in the race that starts just before the Tour de France called the Route du Sud. In fact, as we look at the conditions the riders will be racing in again, the temperature's starting to climb once again, and the riders, I think, a little happier than they were yesterday.
Well, the first challenge, the Col de Monte, made famous by the crash of Lewis O'Connor back in 1971 when he was beating Eddie Merckx by almost double figures in the Tour, and we'll never know if he would have beaten Eddie because he crashed out.
Chance here just to see the speed these riders attain on the descents, but today is going to be a very difficult day for the riders because that final finish up to the Plateau de Bailly is a serious finish to a stage of the Tour de France. In fact, Jan Ullrich, wearing the yellow jersey this morning, broke his contract with Telecom to come down to the Route du Sud so they could actually try this climb out before he came here to the Tour.
So he knows what's in store now, but he rode so well yesterday. Can he do it for a second day running here in the Pyrenees? His tempo riding kept him not right back in the Tour, he put him right on top of the leaderboard. He was wise, I think, to lose the lead after the time trial. I wonder if his form is really as good as we think. Anyway, coming up towards the top of the Col de Monte, and it is Alberto Eli again in the action. I'm a little bit surprised he's attacking his teammate Massey here, Paul, to take the points.
In fact, I can't work out the logical decision there to do that unless he thinks that his teammate Massey will not last the distance of the Tour de France here, and the riders approaching the memorial to Fabio Casatelli, who died in the Tour de France in 1995. Many of the riders here knew him very well, and his family turned out this year to witness the Tour de France going past this monument.
Well, further up the climb, Alberto Eli again going for the sprint ahead of his teammate Rodolfo Massey. Very strange, but he gets more points there at the top of that second category climb. And we move on now to the Col de la Cour, and the rider in the lead here is Roland Meyer, and he's only briefly in the lead. He's gone over the top first, and he's gone straight off by hitting the barriers on the descent there, Paul.
Taking too much of a risk on the corners there, trying to pull himself into good condition, but you see, this is exactly what happens. But he has got up and he has control of himself again, and he goes over the top of the next climb in first position.
So the Col de Port, and Meyer is first there. Stefan Erlo goes over in second, a minute 53 back. The main field containing Ullrich at the moment, Paul, just over 4 minutes down, but we're down towards the climb away from Tarascon now, and this is on the plateau itself.
Excellent riding, still Meyer up in front there, putting a great performance in by Cofidis today. I think somewhat liberated, but you know, Phil, there's been a puncture at the bottom of the climb here, and the yellow jersey, Jan Ullrich, is off the back of the main group, being paced back at the moment by his own teammates.
Well, there's Zabel. He was going back, I think. He's gone straight off the back now because the pressure's gone on at the front of the group here, which is down to about 35-40 riders. Ullrich is being dragged very quickly by the scruff of the neck back into this pack because the climb has already started to bite, and it looks as though his two remaining teammates, Boltz is one of them, is doing some tremendous work to get him back in, but they've had to react so quickly.
You couldn't have punctured at a worse possible time because the climb has started in earnest.
You're right there, Paul, and he's had a little bit of a problem getting back here, but look at this now. Ullrich in the end has destroyed his teammates, but he is powering back up to the group. Now he's got to pick his way through these riders and get right back to the head just to calm them all down.
That's the most difficult thing for him now because a lot of these riders are just sitting up at the bottom of the climb. In fact, I think he's riding himself right into the front group because there is the leader of the King of the Mountains, Rodolfo Massey, and a great job of work has been done by his teammate there, and Ullrich is now back in the front group.
Well, George Tocznik was the last man to stay with Ullrich. He's now fallen away, but he's seen his leaders safely back in the pack. They are coming back together, but this is really going to be a showdown now on this last climb to the top of the plateau.
On the front there, right-hand side, in the blue jersey of US Postal, Jean-Cyril Robin riding a very good Tour de France. Pat Jonker is there as well for Rabobank, and Laurent Jalabert, who feels this year he's got a great chance of finish highly in the Tour de France, is also present at the front. In the group as well, just to the right-hand side, you can see Kevin Livingstone.
Well, Livingstone for Cofidis. Cofidis are riding very well in this race as a team, despite the fact they have lost their leader, Casagrande. There's a little present of Pat Jonker from another Dutchman, and that's Michael Bogart. Jonker brought up in Australia, in fact, but they think he's Dutch over here. He speaks the language fluently, comes from a Dutch background. The pace on this climb is very, very fast, and sooner or later somebody is going to crack.
There's Ulrich in the back of that group of riders. He has done a magnificent job to come back, Phil, because that was the worst time to puncture right at the bottom of the climb, and he's pulled his way right through the field of all of the riders in the Tour de France to join the front group behind the leader on the road, Roland Meyer.
Well, this looks like Manuel Beltran of Banesto. He was brought in to be a strongman alongside Abraham Olano, but Olano has gone out of the Tour today. He retired very early on from the injuries sustained on the descent of the Obisque, and now Pantani has decided to go just like he did yesterday, but the riders are not so far in front of him this time.
Second time in 2 days, the big reaction, Phil, coming from the yellow jersey himself, Jan Ullrich. He knows the danger of the Pirate, Elefantino, Dumbo, a whole host of nicknames for this man, and he doesn't want him to go clear on this climb, and he's chasing him down.
Well, this climb takes it up to 1,747 metres. There's been a reaction from Ullrich. He's not going to allow Pantani to do what he did yesterday. Little bit surprised to see Jalabert still in the company at this level of space, but you know, Ullrich has looked as though he was coming up, Paul, but the gap has opened again.
He hasn't closed the gap. There is Beltran on the right-hand side. He's being picked up by the flying Italian, and in fact, I think Jan Ullrich has sat up now. He's not going to try and stay in the slipstream of the Italian. He's just going to try and ride up this climb at his own tempo.
As soon as he looked over his shoulder to see if Jalabert would give him a hand, it was obvious he was right on his limit. Jalabert was not going to give him a hand, and in fact Ullrich has had to pick up the pace again. Now the climber has lifted it one notch higher. Can he do it again?
Well, Beltran tried to hold on to his back wheel there, but there was no chance at all. In fact, he's cracked, and he soon will be back in the group with the yellow jersey. No help coming to Jan Ullrich from anyone else in that group. He's the leader. He has to do all of the work himself, and Bobby Julich is still there.
Well, the face a little bit more pain than it was yesterday on the pair of sword for Jan Ullrich. Roland Meyer still in front just as the Pirate starts to come up. This is Bjarne Riis here. He was the one that stayed in the group, holding position when Ullrich punctured. But you know, it looks to me now as though he's suffering, but he's just come across that first gap.
Well, the Devils come out once again to help the riders, spur them on, and the man he's hoping he can spur on to victory this afternoon is Roland Meyer. What a revelation in this year's Tour de France. A magnificent ride for him despite that crash, but really coming down on him now, Marco Pantani.
Well, still in the group here, Leonardo Pipoli. Sensational climber in the Giro, but now looking like he might be something of a sensation in the Tour de France. And Ullrich getting all the fluid down here now because they tried to contain Pantani. They've so far failed to do so, but there's still a long way to go up this climb. Jalabert also seems to be losing a little bit of his steam. And Riis is yo-yoing at the back, but he's coming back on again.
He's fighting. He's a courageous rider. He won the Tour de France 2 years ago, and he wants to try and stay in that group with Jan Ullrich so that if it does come to a situation where they're in difficulty, he'll at least be on hand to help the German.
Well, this is Roland Meyer. He's had a marvellous ride today and he's still out there. Don't forget, he's been off the side of the Col de la Cour. He scrambled back up into second place when he got back on his bike, and he's back in the front now on his own. Pantani, I was about to say he's coming up, Paul, but he's up.
Well, he's amazing. He's actually knocked back 1 minute on Raniero in no time at all. He comes alongside the Swiss rider there, looks across at him, and now I think he will attack almost immediately.
But he's taken a little bit of a while to get up alongside Roland Meyer there, and he's not pedalling away from him yet. Meyer just remaining his concentration there, hardly looking across at the Pirate, but he's trying to visibly lift his pace. He knows the acceleration is coming. Here it comes now from Pantani. Such a typical attitude of a climber. Lift the tempo one more notch and break your rivals. 50 seconds is now the gap. It's beginning to look a little bit serious for Ullrich.
Ullrich's not panicking though. Look at the face, complete control. He's looking around to see who is in the group with him. Bobby Julich sitting in second position. He won't attack at the moment, Julich, because his teammate is still up the road. But look at this. Jalabert now has been dropped. Alongside him as well, the champion of Spain in the orange and red jersey there, Angel Casero, and Beltran, who earlier was on the attack. But Marco Pantani now alone in the lead.
And the plateau living true to form as we break out of the shadow of the trees. Right in the distance, far as you can see, is the summit of this climb. But now the weather is beautiful here and the pursuit is hot as Bogart now sets the pace. He is a sensation this year. He has been Rabobank's secret weapon for a great Tour performance. He wants a podium place in Paris, and ever since the prologue, he has been in the frame. 3 kilometres to go now for Pantani. Second yesterday, he's now racing for the win.
Incredible performance there. He gets out of the saddle. Every time he slows down, he comes out of the saddle to accelerate, to keep the pace high. That is what a pure climber is all about. He doesn't